You know who I hope it is?
You
know who I really hope it is?
Who?
And I love her, but Sydney Colson. I hope they dunk on Sydney. Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia Jay, and I'm here with Ashley Nicole Moss.
Hello, everyone.
Well, it's good to be back, Ashley, and I think we're kind of getting back into a regular schedule after all of that amazing basketball, but, we were here, there, and everywhere, so I'm glad that we're back on schedule now. Looking forward to today's show. There is a lot to catch up on for sure.
There is a lot to catch up on. But before we catch up on anything, we got to remind you of the regular schmegular degular, and that is all of our social channels right here listed below. We Need to Talk, myself, Alicia, everything and anything related to the show you can find on these social platforms. Also, make sure you're subscribed and you're following the YouTube page, because that is where you will see full-length episodes, special edition episodes, interviews, behind-the-scenes stuff, everything and anything in between will be found on our YouTube page. But maybe you're someone who likes to listen to their podcast. That's okay. We got you covered there too. Make sure you scan this QR code, and when you do, you will find us wherever you get your pods, and that is on Spotify, that is on Apple Podcasts. So look, there's no reason to not be tapped in with us at We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T, especially not today. Alicia, why not today? What's going on? What are we talking about?
We have so many things to talk about. Listen, if you don't subscribe, you're not going to get all of this content about women's sports. We're going to recap a championship week with USA Hockey and Oklahoma Gymnastics, both taking home titles, which was crazy to see. Serena Williams and others are being named to the Time 100. In the transfer portal, man, it's popping. Like, there's so much for us to talk about in that regard, because people are just transferring everywhere, Ashley. But let's just get into it right now. We're going to start off with a weekly recap. We haven't done this in a while, but there's so much going on in women's sports. Yeah, in a minute for sure. There's so much going on with women's sports. So let's just get into it. We just talked about it a little bit, but the U.S. women hockey team, topped Canada to win the IIHF Women's Hockey World Championships. It's the team's 11th world title. And Hillary Knight specifically on the team, she extended her record for the most world titles won by a women's ice hockey player to 10, Ashley.
Wow.
And right afterwards, she paid homage to the iconic Kobe Bryant photo after the 2001 NBA Finals. I'm sure you remember that picture because you're a huge Kobe fan, but she recreated that photo. It was just, talking about being GOATs and GOAT status. And she said 10 is a really big deal. 1 is really a big deal. And it really is. So for her to get 10 like that, or for the whole entire team, she got 10, not the team, but that's amazing. 10, I can't even imagine. So, big ups to the USA team, and then also to her for that feat for sure. Oklahoma in gymnastics won their 3rd gymnastics title in 4 years, with UCLA coming in 2nd. Jordan Childs actually won her 2nd individual national title on bars, later announcing that she'll be returning next year for her senior season. So we already know she's coming back, which is amazing. And Oklahoma, last year, they were, I guess, in some ways upset and didn't win the title. And a lot of their players were saying, we just came in and we played, or we, I guess, executed Oklahoma gymnastics and just got the dub. So LSU won last year, and they said that they weren't really thinking about not winning, but just thinking about what they can do and that they should win this year. So they went out there and got that title. Amazing on every single level. Now listen, Boston Marathon, 26.2 miles, Ashley. Okay. Like, first of all, never will you ever see me run.
I ain't gotta worry about me doing it. I'll tell you that much.
big ups to everybody that
Listen.
does run that
We
much.
used
My
to
God.
dread in gym class when they would make you do the mile. When the gym teacher would be like, "Guess what? It's mile day." I'd be like, "I'm sick. I can't. I got my period. I can't do it."
Yeah, I'm not in it. I'm not in this one. We used to have to run a mile within a certain amount of time on the court. And if we didn't, like, we'd have to like do morning workouts and all this. Flashbacks.
Well, right, see, running on a court and a track are two different things. Like for me, the court was easy. The track, like I used to
No,
cheat, and as I was doing laps, I would tell my gym teacher it was lap 3 when it was really lap 2.
but a mile on the court going back and forth at a time that was almost impossible, especially for me as a post
Yeah,
player.
it's
They
just
gave me,
but you're also
but then
indoors. It's air conditioning, outdoors in the elements on that rough track. I'm
no,
like,
listen, any kind of mile is bad for me. Let's just be clear. I'm not here for any kind of mile, but also I just want to say my coaches, they would lose count and it would make me so mad because I would make it and they would say that I wouldn't. So
oh
anyways,
well, you should
flashbacks,
have been on your P's and Q's better, coach.
yeah, flashbacks. But anyways, Boston Marathon, let's talk about that because Kenya's Sharon Lokedi won the Boston Marathon, breaking the course record with a time of 2 hours and 17 minutes and 22 seconds. Are you kidding me? That is just insane. I can't, but congratulations to her for winning the Boston Marathon this year. And then Kari Gibbons became the first woman to finish the Iditarod this year and just the 4th woman in history. So to put that in perspective, Ashley, the Iditarod, for those who don't know, is a dog sledding race in Alaska where it's 27 days on foot. So she did this 27 days on foot, 1,000 miles, and was pulling a 55-pound sled with gear the entire time. In the cold, Ashley.
No, ma'am.
In the cold.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not.
Mm-mm. I'll be like, yo, somebody better come get me. Because
listen,
shout out to those
you did
dogs
that, girl.
too. But yeah, like one of y'all better come get me because I ain't moving.
Right.
Like, this
not in the cold. I would step outside in the cold
ma'am.
and be like, get somebody else to do it. But thank you, though.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Shout out to Kari.
Amazing nonetheless. Yeah.
Yes. Listen. Shout out to even Cooper have been like, yeah, I ain't doing this. I mean, messed up. Cooper would have ran back inside like, I'm gonna holla at you. You figure this out on your own.
See you when I see you.
I'm gonna see you hopefully I see you. If not, it's been real. Bay Football Club is as we shift gears to soccer. Bay FC is looking to set the NWSL attendance record with a game at Oracle Park on August 23rd. The club announced on Tuesday. Oracle Park's seating capacity is over 40,000, and it surpasses the current NWSL record of 35,000 plus set during the Chicago Stars game at Wrigley Field last season. The Bay were the opponents in, and that game is August 23rd, or that match rather, and it will air on CBS. So we hope to see another record broken. That would be really, really dope. And while we're on the topic of soccer, Trinity Rodman is taking some time away from soccer and the Washington Spirit to address her chronic back injury with hopes to return as soon as she's healthy again. We wish her all the best. She's also busy being a wag with her tennis playing boyfriend. So hopefully she can get some TLC from him as well. And speaking of injuries, unfortunately, Nika Mule will miss the 2025 WNBA season due to an ACL tear sustained during the offseason while playing overseas. We hate to hear that. Obviously, we've been talking about ACL and Achilles injuries, unfortunately, this entire college season and last season, and will probably, the unfortunate reality, the statistics are women get them at a much higher rate than men. So we'll probably, unfortunately, be talking about them again at some point during the WNBA season, but we wish her a speedy recovery.
And I hate to see that happen, Ashley, but I am glad she's taking the time that she needs. I feel like when people are, they feel like they have to rush it and rush back. And I'm sure she wants to play, but it's a good thing that she's taking care of what she needs to.
It's one of those injuries you don't want to rush back from because you can play on something that doesn't need to be played on and set yourself back even further. So shout out to her for doing what she needs to do and prioritizing her body. And prioritizing their body, but in a style sense. Camila Cardoso has reportedly hired stylist Halo for her tunnel fits for the upcoming season, which is outstanding because if you're going to come correct. And as we have seen in this past season specifically, all the WNBA girlies are stepping up their fashion game. And, Camilla's teammates with Angel Reese and now Haley Van Lith. And she probably is like, all right, I'm going to have to come correct. So I'm going to come correct with my stylist this year.
Yeah, that team is going to slay the tunnel fits. That's for sure.
I know. They may be the best dressed team in the WNBA. We will wait and see. And lastly, speaking of a player who always puts it on, Rickea Jackson is a style favorite, but she was hamming it up on social media in hopes of not becoming the first WNBA player to get dunked on. Queen Egbo showed off her two-handed dunk. And we know that Dominique Malonga can also dunk. And naturally, Rickea does not want to be the first victim to get dunked on. But let's be honest, nobody wants to get dunked on. I don't care if you're in the WNBA, the NBA, the LA Fitness League. Getting dunked on is not a fun time. It's not fun.
Nobody is dunking on me.
Just, If you had to pick, though, who do you think is going to be the first WNBA player to get dunked on?
Who I hope it is? Know who I really hope it is? And I love her, but Sydney Colson. I hope they dunk on Sydney because she's been talking so much on like all the social medias about it. And she always has something to say, which I love. And her, she'll get dunked on. She will make a joke about it on like herself. She'll like make it go viral. And then she'll also probably get some type of like sponsorship around it. Like I could even see like a commercial or something,
dunked on.
And they'll have an episode of her show about it. So I just would love to see. I think it would be hilarious if Sydney got dunked on first.
Well, we will have to wait and see. The WNBA season is right around the corner. And that does it for this week's weekly recap. We will definitely have more of these as the season progresses, as sports continue to progress. And speaking of sports, we're going to shift gears to tennis and talk some Serena Williams. Now, Serena Williams never has been one to bite her tongue. She's always been one to say it how she means it and mean it how she says it. And last week, she was named to the Time 100 list, honoring some of the most influential people of the year. And in an article with Time, she talked about Jannik Sinner's 3-month suspension for a performance-enhancing substance, which Sinner says he was inadvertently given to him by a physician. The association basically agreed with the explanation, determining the amount was, quote, so small it didn't give him a competitive advantage. While the World Anti-Doping Agency pushed for a 1-year ban, the parties reached a settlement in February, which has him currently sitting out tournaments, but he won't have to miss a major. Now, some players, as a result, have accused tennis officials of giving the top-ranked player favorable treatment. Well, Serena Williams spoke on this, and she had this to say: I love the guy. I love his game. He's great for the sport. I've been put down so much. I don't want to bring anyone down. Men's tennis needs him. If I did that, I would have gotten 20 years. Let's be honest. I would have gotten Grand Slams taken away from me. Now, Williams says she was extra careful about what went into her body because of this, taking nothing stronger than Advil for fear of ingesting something that could get her in trouble. A performance-enhancing drug scandal would have landed her, quote, in jail, she says with a laugh. And she continues by saying, quote, you would have heard about it in another multi-universe or multiverse. This kind of begs the question, right? And I think that throughout Serena's career, we have seen the double standard that just exists with race and things like that, but also that exists with gender. And we have seen her be crucified, if you will, for showing emotion during matches, for showing the same emotion that her male counterparts have shown and been celebrated for. We've seen her face criticism for how she has dressed. We have seen her face criticism for how she has her hair. But I think the biggest thing, obviously, men can't compete by wearing tennis skirts and having their hair in braids. That's not what they do. But in terms of just being an athlete, of being a competitor, we have seen her take such a huge hit so many different times. And yet we've seen men be uplifted or just not face the same type of scrutiny or punishment from officials. So you can't help but wonder or agree that she has a point that any doping scandal for her would have been catastrophic.
Yeah, I mean, that is just a fact. It would have been. And there's nothing, in my opinion, to argue there. If anything like that would have happened in her career, it would have been everywhere and she would have been vilified for it.
Mhm,
We saw that time and time again in her career in different ways, whether it be, like you said, Ashley, what she's wearing, to how she reacted to calls or whatever the case may be. Not only her, but also Venus, like they were both scrutinized their entire career, no matter what they accomplished, no matter what they did. They got that. She sometimes she still gets it at this point in time for certain
mhm,
things. She probably got it for saying what she just said right here, which was just a fact, in my opinion. Um, what I think needs to be looked at too, in just regards to this, is what is a too little of amount to do anything, and what is a lot.
mhm,
What are the regulations? What are they saying? Why are they giving some people, this, for example, Simona Halep had to fight a 4-year ban for banned substance roxadustat. I'm probably saying that incorrectly, but that substance got a 4-year ban for that at the 2022 U.S. Open, eventually retiring earlier this year, and the ban sidelined her for a total of 19 months. But she maintained that the anti-doping violations were not intentional.
mhm,
Eventually, the Court of Arbitration for Sport agreed and reduced the backdated ban to 9 months. So it's like, when you look at the way that they're handling all cases, what is the standard? What is too much or too little? Why does he get, kind of essentially a slap on the hand, and also they lessen it by saying it's just a little bit, and then a player like Halep, would be, banned for, what would they say, a 4-year ban for essentially maybe the same thing. We don't know, but it just looks like they're
mhm.
handing out charges at will and saying this, that, and the other, and then they're running it back. You just can't do that. There has to be, you either do it or you don't. You know what I mean? Like, do it the right way for all players and hand out what is right based on what happened. But also, it sounds like the Court of Arbitration, and also, the people that are handing out the bans, they need to
Mhm.
get in accordance too, because you have one saying it's 4 years and then another saying that, oh wait, let's just do 9 months. Like, that can totally change the career of an athlete, totally change the tennis career for the people that we're talking about here. And there's so many more that we could go down the line with. So just get it all together, right? No doubt Serena would have been vilified for anything like this. But also, in addition, it just sounds like one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, and that on all fronts they need to make some kind of thing where it's equal for everybody, because that's not what it's sounding like, in my opinion, right here.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are also situations where certain substances have been banned after they have been legal for a certain amount of time, right? I just looked up Maria Sharapova because that was like one of the first people I thought of when we were talking about this. And she was taking a medicine, meldonium, for 10 years that was legal. And then on January 1st, the rules changed and it became a substance that was prohibited by the association, and she did not know. And then she obviously failed her doping test. So in situations like that, mistakes happen. Sometimes you're not always cautious of the rule change the minute it happens. And also, it's hard to get things out of your system right away before a drug test, especially if you've been legally taking it for an extended period of time, right? But even in situations like that, where it wasn't it was doping essentially by ignorance, for lack of a better word. Even situations like that, Maria Sharapova had a lot of people coming to bat for her, saying to give her the benefit of the doubt. And, she is a top tier athlete. She would never, da 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 da. And to this day, not that she deserves anything other than that, because again, mistakes happen. People speak so highly of her career, and this is never mentioned, right? Serena, for everything she's accomplished, if this situation had happened in the exact same way it had happened, right? Say Serena was taking a substance that was legal for 10 years, and then the rules changed overnight, and now she's still taking that substance, but now it's illegal and she wasn't aware. People would never give her the benefit of the doubt, would not let her live it down. Every time her name was brought up, you'd have people saying she was a cheater, she was a doper, she was this, she was that, she doesn't deserve this, she didn't deserve that, she was only number one because of this. And I think that's also the double standard that she is referring to, that goes to race, and that goes to a deeper conversation, because again, there are a lot of athletes who are taking things that are legal and then they become illegal. There are also, I remember in football, there was some situations where there were men taking things to increase their testosterone because they were trying to have babies with their wives, and they were going through IVF and things like that. And that was like, that happens. Like, you can't keep track of every single substance, but it's really the general public and the opinion of the general public that also speaks to the double standard, where some people are given the benefit of the doubt. For some people, it was a mistake, and for other people, they're a cheater. And Serena falls in the latter, where she would have been deemed a cheater if she did this, even though if it happened the same way it happened to Maria Sharapova. And that's a deeper conversation that we can explore at another time. But it speaks to, once again, the double standard, but not with gender, but with race.
Right. Well, there's definitely a double standard, and I think they need to look at what these substances are too. Why are these substances banned? Should they be banned? I think that needs to be revisited
Let's
lot
get a
as well.
doctor on the show.
Yeah, because it just sounds like it's quite a mess, to be honest with you. And I think it all just needs to be revisited and looked at. And definitely, I think they should do that. But
you know what's also a
no
mess?
doubt,
The transfer portal.
Oh, it definitely is a mess. And Ashley, it's like you just open up your phone and there's all these alerts and you're just like, okay, what happened now? Right? We've been monitoring this for a while. And the transfer portal is going to close tomorrow. And so we wanted to get you all caught up. I know, right? We wanted to get you all caught up on what has happened. And again, we're recording this podcast now. So whatever happens after this, that's why it's not up to date. So don't hold us to that. But we're going to tell you as of right now what is going on in the transfer portal and, all the conversations that are taking place, because there is a lot going on. So let's talk about who is going where right now. We're going to give you an overview of it, and we probably are going to miss some people. But listen, if you're listening to this, go in the comments and write who you think we should include and talk about more in the transfer portal. This is a space for us all to contribute and talk to, and we love seeing all your comments. So make sure you drop those in the comments for us to take a look at and, integrate into future shows. But right now we're going to start off with TCU. They had a number of big pickups. Olivia Miles from Notre Dame, Clara Silva from Kentucky, Veronica Sheffy from San Diego State. And I believe you interviewed them, Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing the research, I saw you doing your sideline there. So from San Diego, it's Talia Parker and Marta Suarez from Cal, and Kennedy Basham. So they cleaned up. TCU cleaned up. They got a lot of great players, and a lot of that had to do with their run in the tournament. But as you can see in the transfer portal, they got some really good players coming their way.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina. Now, this is something we can talk about a little bit more in depth, Ashley, and we should, because they lost MiLaysia Fulwiley, and this was like a shocker to everyone, to the portal. There's a lot of conflicting reports about MiLaysia right now. Some people were saying that her mom was telling her to follow the money, and that she was going to have a visit to LSU, and that also she tried to return to South Carolina at one point. Now, Fulwiley wrote in part, and she refuted a lot of these things that people have been saying, saying, I'm not going on a visit anywhere. That was a lie, before adding also that my decision wasn't about the money at all. And then also, do y'all really think I wanted to leave my hometown? And noted that she never tried to go back. So basically every single one of those rumors she refuted.
Well,
So yeah, somebody is that's what we do know, Ashley, is somebody is lying. And it's just a mess. She's one of the players that definitely has not said as of right now where she is going. So it'll be really interesting to see where she is. But one of the stories that I really just didn't love to see with the transfer portal, because I thought she was right where she needed to be. And I just wonder if she kind of spoke, and this is just me surmising, but if she spoke before she really knew exactly where she wanted to go. And I think a lot of with the transfer portal rather, I don't know why I can't say it, but it's hard because once one player moves, that movement is happening fast and you got to catch up with it. And if you haven't already established something, a lot could go down. So we'll see. We'll be following that for sure. But South Carolina, they added Tania Latson, which is the nation's leading scorer, which was a huge. I mean, what Tania Latson did this year did not get enough kind of publicity. Not enough people, saw what she was doing. I think this is going to be a team where people really see the player that she is, and also they could use her scoring, obviously. So thought that was great for them. And then Medina Akot from Mississippi State is going to be a great inside presence for South Carolina as well. Mm-hmm. She's a 6'6" senior, fills a big need for the Gamecocks for sure. So they lack dominance inside, and that's going to be really good. Now UCLA, they lost a lot. The entire freshman class in Janiah Barker, they went to the portal, and London Jones went to USC. So went from UCLA to USC, which is like a bold move as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
so super bold.
Territory.
So we'll definitely see that. And then USC is looking to replace Kiki Iriafen and Raya Marshall, plus lost freshman Avery Howell and Kaylee Heckel to the portal. And then obviously they brought in London Jones, and who's joined by Georgia Tech transfer Kara Dunn. They have the number 1 ranked recruit Jazzy Davidson joining them as well. So while they will be missing Juju, they have a solid team. And then a couple other people, just really quickly before we get into this conversation. Cody McMahon is going to Ole Miss. Amazing player that is definitely going to fit in with Coach Yo's system. I can definitely see her really being a key contributor next year for sure right away. And then that goes without saying. And then Keomi McMiller, she went to Rutgers last year, and people really were talking about that move. And it was a rough season, I would say, on many levels for not only the team, but her. And she's one of 3 Rutgers guards that are leaving that entered the portal. And then she announced that she's going to Penn State, which a lot of people were like, Penn State out of all the teams? Very interesting move. And she defended the move by basically saying, and I am, I'm not saying it word for word, but she was like, they're talking about me. And so, obviously I'm something big if they're talking about me. So I'll be going to Penn State. She doubled down on the move. So, but actually, with all of this said, I mean, there's so much movement. It's really hard, like we said, to keep up with it. Which transfers do you think have the most potential to make the most impact?
Looking through it as you were talking through it, obviously South Carolina does South Carolina things. I think TCU is interesting for me, the most interesting of all the teams that you mentioned and the transfers you mentioned, because obviously they're trying to continue to capitalize off of the historic run that they had. Obviously HBL now being with the Sky, You're trying to find that next group. And I think the interesting thing about TCU is how they get players from kind of all over and through unconventional methods and make that a team. When you come into South Carolina, UCLA, USC, it's kind of a pre-existing culture that you are buying into, not the other way around. But I think because TCU is kind of starting over, right? This is a team, we spoke about it during the tournament. They were holding tryouts because they didn't have enough players, and their program had kind of fallen off and fell into the abyss, if you will. And they have the opportunity now, after that run that they had in this past tournament, to really start their culture from scratch. And I think that the culture that they create is going to be a direct correlation of the players on it versus those players buying into this existing culture that has produced results and has produced championships. And there's a way to do things and there's a way not to do things. TCU has a advantage of kind of, much like we're talking about with the Valkyries and the expansion teams that are coming to the W, they have an opportunity to kind of create and mold their program the way that they want to. And I think that's really exciting. And I'm excited to see how they do that with these players.
Yeah, and I think when you look at what Haley Van Lith said after certainly and some of the other players that were on the team, they really said that, the coach believed in me. The coach believed in us. And there are a lot of players who, and this is what kind of the transfer portal was made for, is that if you don't feel like you are given, the right chance in the right environment, it gives you the ability to go somewhere else. And you want to go to a place where the coach believes in you, where you're going to see play, and where you're going to be with other players who want it just as bad as you are. And I feel like that's part of the culture that they have created at TCU, just from, outward looking in, right? And what happened this year, I think in the tournament really helped them, capture that and show that to a lot of the players that wanted to come there. And I'm sure they have a lot more support now too than they had before, because we know that with the portal, you do need some monetary support as well. And so I can see people probably pouring back into that as well. I would say, obviously South Carolina did what, and Dawn is going to do what she's going to do. She's going to go out and get those players that she needs. She knows exactly what she needs to, let's be clear, they were in the championship this year. That's no small thing. So she knows what she needs to get another one and to actually win, get there and win. But I would say the one that surprised me the most is UCLA surprised me the most, that all of those players did like a mass exodus after the season. Like, I know they had a really that game that they had was not great. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They exited the tournament in a fashion that wasn't awesome. But I mean, if you look at, the players that they have on that team, and just they do need to make a couple tweaks to make that team what they should be, or what they should have been this year, to be honest too. And you have one of the top players in the country. So it's just, to me, for everyone to leave, like, I mean, it was so many people just say, hey, we're out. That was a little surprising to me. And of course, MiLaysia Fulwiley was incredibly surprising, because she just, to me, she fits into the system so well that Dawn has. She's like a South Carolina player. That's her hometown. I mean, everything that was surprising to me. What was surprising to you when you listen to this list and the moves that are being made?
I would probably agree with you with UCLA, only because I don't think they underperformed in the tournament. Some would say they overperformed to a degree after, I think, what was it, the Elite Eight, maybe. So I'm surprised that you have so many, especially because UCLA is such a massive program. It's not like it's like one of the smaller programs, one of the undeveloped programs. I mean, it's UCLA. It's one of the most famous basketball programs in all of sports. So the fact that you go to the Final Four, you go deep. I mean, you go to the tournament, you go deep into the tournament, and yeah, maybe it wasn't the outcome that you wanted, but you're part of UCLA, you're Bruin, you're in LA, a huge market. I mean, the opportunities from an NIL perspective alone are massive, bigger than they would be in, cities that aren't big markets. And to see like to your point, a mass exodus of players after all of that, after all the intangibles that the program offers, to me, it was probably surprising. And then obviously you have London Jones going to USC, which is like a big no-no. You don't leave the Bruins to go to the Trojans. So she's enemy number one for sure. But that's probably the biggest surprise to me. I'm interested to see how all of these moves play out next season. And hopefully nothing monumental happens in the next 24 hours because we can't take any more. Okay. So everyone just,
I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to have to, though, because MiLaysia still hasn't told us. So something monumental got to happen for her.
Well, we will keep our eyes and ears open for that. But in the meantime, we have a new segment to share with you all. It is now time to bring to you AT&T Guarantee, presented by AT&T. Now, the gist of this segment is to bring you all something that we think is a guarantee for the week. Now, I put that in quotes because nothing is a guarantee in life, and anything is possible in the world of sports. But whether it's a pick, a take, a player, or a team, as we look ahead, we're going to give you our best guarantee. And this week, we're looking at the NWSL. It's week 6 of the regular season, and things are beginning to take shape. Kansas City remains the lone undefeated team, while North Carolina is the only winless team, as they have struggled to find their footing so far this season. So, Alicia, with this week's slate of games, what is your guarantee?
Well, Ashley, every year they have an annual award that they give out to NWSL players for the regular season called the Golden Boot. So for those who you don't know, it's the person who scores the most goals in the regular season. And right now, the current top 3 are Ashley Hatch with 4, Esther Gonzalez with 4, and Temwa Chwenga with 3. Temwa won it last year, let's be clear, and is favored to win it this year. But what my guarantee is that after a 2 goal scoring weekend this weekend, Esther Gonzalez, she had 2 goals this weekend over with a 4-0 win over Angel City. And she has 81 total in her career, by the way, just a little side note. But I think that what Esther is going to do, this is my guarantee, that she's going to keep it going. She's going to keep this race to the Golden Boot going. I know it's early, but she's going to keep it going. And she is going to get into the lead with a goal over Portland. So I think, listen, it's going to be her 5th one. She's going to be in the lead, and she's going to get that goal and be the leader towards the Golden Boot right now. That is what my guarantee is.
All right, so I'm going to take your guarantee and I'm going to match you with my guarantee, and that is that Bay FC will go inside the box for a goal. Now, Bay has started the season with bangers only. You have Kiki Pickett's strikeout outside the box that gave the Bay a win over North Carolina, who's still looking for a win. As I mentioned, they're winless so far this season, and that was the goal of the weekend. And we love to see bangers. We love to see a team that has yet to score from inside the box this season actually make that happen. And as the team settles to more of a rhythm, look for more growth and more comfortable play from inside the box. So we will see if these guarantees come into fruition. Maybe we'll have some like bragging rights when we come back next week to see which guarantee actually turned into a guarantee. But only time will tell. We will revisit this next week. What's a guarantee though? GOATs and Simone Biles is a guarantee when it comes to being the GOAT. But what's not a guarantee, Alicia? The 2028 Olympics. That's where things get a little murky.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've heard these things about retirement when it comes to Simone Biles, but haven't heard anything like super concrete, obviously, because that would be everywhere. But recently, now I'm gonna mess this name up now, but she talked with French sports publication L'Equipe.
Very good. It sounded good to me.
Okay. That's what I got a little high when I said that. I was like, Equipe? But anyway, And she was talking with the publication, and they were asking her if she'll compete in the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics.
Mm.
And she said, 2028 seems so far away and my body is aging. I felt it in Paris. Now, Simone still intends to be in LA, but it doesn't know whether or not she'll be competing. And she said, I'm really trying to enjoy life, to spend time with my husband, Jonathan Owens, Chicago Bears safety Jonathan Owens. She wants to go and support him with his games, live my life as a woman. I've accomplished so much in my sport. For me to come back would really have to excite me. And also, it's so funny because she said that the other day she was sprinting in the garden with friends and she had aches and pains for 3 days. So I honestly don't know. We'll see. And I was like, that is so relatable because, girl, I just started working out and I can hardly move. So when you feel that way and you are Simone Biles, I think it's okay to look and see,
Mind you, she's not even 30 yet.
But when you think about gymnastics, though,
30 I know. So just like she not even people think about like for the people who turn 30, because that the joke where you like wake up one day when you're 30 and like all of a sudden like you hold your back, you make a noise and you get up from a chair, you're like, I will
listen, your knee just gives out.
I will tell you, I'm obviously not Simone Biles. I'm not an athlete like Simone Biles, but I will tell you, as someone who's been active their entire life, sports, working out, I've all of a sudden gotten like soreness in my knees that I've never had before.
Girl, join the club.
I squatted down today to say hi to Cooper, and I was like getting up. I was like, I got a little crank in my knee.
Hold on, what is that? What is that?
What's going on there? So I feel her, and also you have to remember, the Olympics come around every 4 years, but you're training for that way before that. And 28 years old, but most of her life, if not all of her life, once she became of 6 years old, probably has been dedicated to gymnastics, training, making sure you're eating right, being in the gym. And as much as you want to think there's balance in a life like that, it's hard to find balance like that. And it's hard to find friends and a life outside of gymnastics. And it's probably your world surrounded around that for most of your existence. And now that she's coming into her own, we all know what it was like, turning 30. It's changed. It's not drastic, but you feel the shift from your 20s to your 30s, and you start thinking about life differently and wanting different things and wanting to explore different things. It's very much a period of exploration, if you will. And she's married, and she's probably started thinking about like a family and stuff like that. So outside of her body telling her it may be getting close to time to wrap it up, her desires may just be elsewhere. And to dedicate so much of your time to that may just not be a reality for her anymore. And that's okay. I don't think there's really anything left for her to prove unless you're just a hater. And then you weren't going to convince them anyway. So whatever.
Right. And she's done it all. She has truly done it all. She, like you said, she has nothing to prove. And I think in life sometimes, often, when we are doing something, we feel like it's almost a part of our identity. And we, kind of feel like an obligation to keep doing it. And what I love here is she's just like, I want to live my life. I want to do other things. I want to be a wife. I want to and just see like what else in my life that I want to be doing. And I applaud her for verbalizing that and saying that, because whether it be an athlete or somebody who is working in, a corporate setting or whatever, I think people think once they attain something that they have to keep doing that their entire life to either be validated or to, it's just their identity. And I applaud her for saying this, because we can do other things. You don't have to stay and do one thing for the rest of your life. As a matter of fact, you should have many iterations of different things in your life that you want to do. And so I say, Simone, you have done so much for the sport. You have done everything that you can do. You have nothing to prove. Live your life, girl. Live your entire life. And she's going to be around this sport and talking about mental health and doing all of these things for. She's going to be doing all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like she talked about after in Paris after she won 3 golds and a silver, which in itself is like, okay, girl, you good. But she said her body, was suffering. She got into an elevator and her body literally collapsed and she was sick for 10 days. I mean, if that's not your body telling you something, I don't know what is. So I applaud her. I'm really excited to see what she's going to do. And I know she hasn't announced it yet, but you're the GOAT. Like you can retire and you can do other things. And I'm excited to see what she does for sure.
Same.
Without a doubt. Well, going from one GOAT to another GOAT in the making, Coco Gauff. I mean, she is so awesome on social media. And we just wanted to point out this tweet. She said, just a girl playing in her baby doll socks, pleated skirt, and muscles strong enough to squat your body weight. Okay. That's what I'm talking about, period. And we had to show this because number one, Ashley, look at this arm definition. Look at her arms.
Girl, that's like, I'm mentally thinking about her arms and Miley Cyrus's arms when I'm in Pilates, because when I be doing those Pilates movements with the cables and they're like, okay. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't feel my arms. I'm like, okay, what would Coco Gauff do? You want her arms? You want Miley's arms? This is how you get them. And just keep pulling back. So get it, girl. Those arms are top tier. Love that.
And I just love, show off the strength because you work so hard to get it. And it's just like, it's an inspiration for me as somebody who does not do anything currently. And I'm trying to get back into it. I do want those arms, but currently they do not look like that. But it's an inspiration to me. And it's an inspiration to, little girls, little boys, just everybody. It's an inspiration to people. So talk your stuff too. I love that.
I absolutely love it. I remember growing up, one thing I always had were I always had really strong ab definition, even before I really started working out. It was just a part of my body that even as a little kid, it was very odd. I always had a definition in my abs.
That's a gift. I mean, that's a gift, girl. Not everybody got it.
But when I was younger, I felt super insecure about it, especially in middle school, because the other girls didn't have the strong ab definition. And especially before I started really working out my abs, I just had that upper ab muscle. So it was a little bit bulkier than the rest of my stomach. And I used to feel super insecure about it. And I used to hate it. And I used to tell my mom, I look like a boy. I look like a boy. And now it's one of my favorite parts of my body. And I work really actively to keep my core strong and stuff like that. So I love that this generation of women, young women specifically, it definitely in their developmental years. And now that social media is bigger than what it was when we were growing up, Instagram and stuff like that were not a thing when I was in middle school. So it's not I had to see all these pictures of all these quote unquote perfect people in my face 24/7. I do not envy the kids now because that's a lot. But I'm just glad that with social media being so prevalent, they have those examples of strong, beautiful women, that muscles are strong, and muscles are beautiful. Abs are beautiful. Arm definition's beautiful. Thick thighs are beautiful. Strong calves are beautiful. Not everybody is a size 0 supermodel at 6 feet tall and just, that's what they look like. And, muscles can be attractive, which is why I love that. Not can be, are attractive. And that's why I love when Skims did the ad with Cameron Brink and all the WNBA models and Kelsey Plum, and they were in their underwear showing off their muscles holding the basketball. It was just the perfect blend of femininity and strength. And it's really important for young women, especially women who are going through puberty and coming into their womanhood, to see so many different examples of body types. There's skinny, there's curvy, there's plus size, there's more athletic, and it's about seeing yourself in whatever genre of woman you see yourself in, and knowing that you're beautiful too. And everyone doesn't have to look the same. Everyone doesn't have to be the same height. We don't have to be the same color. And one thing I love about this era of social media, with all of the bad that comes with it, it's the good of kind of putting all of that to the forefront and it being out there for people to see and to dissect. Because I know when we were growing up, there weren't that many examples of different body types and different people on TV. And, for us, we have the advantage of being of a lighter complexion. So it was a little bit easier for us to see ourselves on screen, right? Because we were always the acceptable Black girl. And skin color, maybe, but I remember growing up, I didn't see anybody on TV with curly hair. There were hardly any products for curly hair. I remember going to like the store with my mom, CBS, and there was like Baby Love and like nothing else. Everything else was like for waves, and now it's such a different time. So I'm just glad there's so many different colors and shapes for these young girls to look up to, because I know we didn't have it that easy. And I think our lives and the way we viewed our bodies and our looks and our beauty might have been a lot different if we had those examples. So I love this.
Yeah. I know for me, I needed to see somebody who was 6'6". I needed to see somebody who was tall, because everybody, used to bully me and make fun of me. And I did not love who I was at one point. I didn't love my height. And I've talked about this on here before, but just seeing all body types represented is so important. And it's something that, like you said, on the good side of media, is something that I am really glad that it's out there, because everybody needs to see somebody that looks like them, and we need more of it. And we do have more of it, but I'm glad that we have, people like Coco saying like, this is me. I love it. I love the arm definition. I love my socks and I love everything about this. And I could squat you too. So I love
part.
that. Period.
Don't start none, won't be none. Period.
Okay.
Listen. Well, look, we'll be having more conversations like this and more weekly recaps and everything in between throughout the WNBA season, because yes, it is right around the corner, if you can believe it. But there's also so many other sports happening: NWSL, tennis, everything and anything regarding women's sports will be discussed on this platform, but you won't know when and what and where we're discussing this if you're not following us on social media here. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure the notifications are turned all the way up. And at the end of the show, scan the QR code, because if you're someone who likes to listen to their pods, we got you covered there too. And we will be back next week with an all new episode, or maybe even sooner, depending on if anything exciting happens. We need to talk
Gotta subscribe to know.
Presented by AT&T. That part. See you then.